Welcome everybody to the ongoing lecture series of our joint project DiKopA, digitale Kompetenzen in der Archäologie, digital competencies in archaeology. And today we welcome Sofia Fonseca to give us a presentation about online learning on African archaeology and heritage, the co-creation process of a Coursera MOOC. I think it's the second presentation that we hear about a MOOC, and I already saw that Stefan Feuser is also in the audience, so I think we have a lot to discuss later. Sofia Fonseca is an archaeologist with a specialized focus on Egyptology and North Africa, as well as expertise in cultural heritage cooperation. She is a bureau elected member of the ICOMOS International Cultural Tourism Committee and serves as co-chair of the European Association of Archaeologists, a community dedicated to integrating the management of archaeological heritage and tourism. As an active participant in a climate heritage network, Sofia advocates for the role of culture in advancing climate resilient sustainable development. On her commitment with sustainability in 2022, she initiated the No All Garbage Zero Waste in Tourism, which sounds very interesting. In 2008, she established Teiduma Consultancy on Heritage, Culture and Sustainability, a consultancy bureau to foster local development through heritage and culture. For the last few years, her work has been focusing on the realm of digital education. Sofia coordinates the ONLAAH platform or ONLA platform on African archaeology and heritage, and the Coursera online course on African archaeology and heritage that we will hear about today. She's also the founder and host of the ONLA podcast and the co-editor of the forthcoming Springer book, New Ways of Communicating Archaeology in a Digital World, which also sounds very interesting. Presently, Sofia is collaborating with the German Archaeological Institute on the education project in Nigeria to strengthen the archaeological training of Nigerian archaeologists. And this sounds all very interesting and worthwhile. And Sofia, we are looking forward to your presentation today about online learning on African archaeology. Please start.
Thank you so much, Sebastian. Thank you, everyone that is present now and the future listeners or viewers of the presentation. So I'm starting right now. I'm presenting the ONLA project, and I thought of bringing you like a timeline of the project since the idea, when we had the idea of creating this, all the creation process, the course itself, what do we have now in Coursera, the creation of the platform, the ONLA platform, because our project is more than only the course. I will explain that. Then I will give you a little bit outcomes of the 5 months since the course is online and function, and some conclusions of all this endeavor, let's say, and some next steps that we have in mind. So the ONLA, let's say it's a platform, and the organization belongs to the German Archaeological Institute. We have partners, the ICAREHB in Portugal, the Autonomous University in Barcelona, also the University of Cologne through the Heinrich Barth Institute, and the University Eduardo Mondlane in Mozambique. And the funding, we had some funding at the beginning from the Friends of the German Archaeological Institute, and nowadays it's the Federal Foreign Office that supported the creation of the MOOC. And we have 30 teachers that I think it's our big asset. To be honest, I will be forever grateful to each one of them, because it was really a co-creation. That's why I call this presentation How to Co-Create a MOOC, because without the effort, the support, the resilience through a pandemic, and the connections that we created between all of us, this would not be possible. And so the idea. So Our idea initially was to offer online courses on African archaeology and heritage, and we wanted them to be accessible worldwide. That was something that we really wanted, not only to create something for the German students or European students or Portuguese students. I'm Portuguese, so no, we wanted really to try to engage a new generation of researchers, especially from Africa. Our focus is always obviously collaborating with colleagues in Africa and universities or centers in Africa, but also with people interested in this subject, to the study, diffusion and protection of African archaeology and heritage. Why? So the German Archaeological Institute, one of the pillars of the foundation is capacity building, and that's something that we really wanted to bring forward, again, for African students particularly, but for anyone interested in this subject. Also, we realized there was a huge gap, nearly no African archaeology or heritage in online education. So that was also important for us. Also to give organized and accessible content and resources on the subject to teachers from different levels or other people interested in heritage professionals, just curious people that are on the online world, long-time learners, and finally bring our subject to a wider public and enhance its importance and role on archaeology and heritage studies, because we feel there is a gap of knowledge regarding African archaeology. How did we propose to do this? So we had the idea, we know what we want to bring forward, but how? So the idea was mainly distributed in two main phases, let's say. So create an online platform to connect our community of students, teachers, and researchers, and offer a MOOC dedicated to African archaeology and heritage. So the idea is to have the MOOC inside the platform, but also other resources. And that was always our idea. So people can connect and strengthen relations and even create projects in the future, all of that. So bring together experts, the teachers and researchers, the resources, online courses, archives, publications, databases in the platform, or the links to other platforms that already had all these, in a way of providing knowledge and education. And the organized way, I think it's very important, because we do have lots of information and each day more. But sometimes it's difficult to find a reliable source or a place that you know that you can do a course from A to Z and you follow the curriculum and it's not random videos somewhere. So that was the idea, to organize things so the student or the person that is interested know that there is a fundamental idea and structure behind all the things. And why online learning? Well, today, with all of you, I don't have to explain much, but the project started in 2016 and it was pre-COVID and all. Now it's everyone knows and everyone agrees, but so why? And again, back then when I presented the idea, I would say online learning is the future of education. For me right now, I think it's part of the future of education because we have more experience now. We all know the good and the not so good, the advantages and disadvantages sometimes, the engagement or lack of engagement. So I think it's a super important part. And I will give you an example of that, particularly with our MOOC. But it's true that back then, when we started presenting those numbers that we have here right now, this was what I presented in 2017, were already stunning numbers and people were online. And so we had this feeling that there was the possibility of students from Africa or other parts of the world connect with experts in this online world by having a simple internet connection and the means of doing it through a computer, a tablet, a smartphone, something that in Africa, it's also super present. We cannot forget that Africa is the youngest continent in the world, or one of the youngest. And so people are very connected with the digital world. So I have here some numbers from the Class Central that maybe some of you also know. This site is super informative. And so we have some numbers. When we started the project, we had 81 million students and now we have 220 million students. Well, in 21, because then they changed the way of counting and it was a bit confusing. So I stay with the MOOCs and the last data they have is from 21, but whatever. I think it's interesting for us to realize how this has grown. Obviously, this data was immediately after the pandemic, but doesn't matter. The question is, we are online. The future is now, and it's happening. And so it's interesting to use these tools, because I do believe that heritage and archaeology, we do have to find new ways of communicating and how to communicate in our world. And I think through MOOCs, it's a good way. So why a MOOC? I've told you before, but we also thought it was a way of empowering people. You can accede, you don't have to pay. You can create a network of knowledge around it. And it's really the democratization of knowledge, because you can access teachers and researchers and case studies and things that you would never had the possibility before. And if it's a paying course, then you are blocking the possibility to many people. And again, our focus is mainly in Africa, and obviously Africa is huge, but there are many regions that it's more difficult to access to the prices that we have, even in the certificates of the MOOCs. So you can do the course. If you do want a certificate, then you have to pay for it. And it's something that we've been working and thinking and talking about, is to create scholarships. But we'll talk about that in the next steps, so at the end of the presentation. And why the Coursera platform? So this platform was created in 2012 by Stanford University, and is one of the big ones, with more than 87 million of students in 2021. So even I also preparing this presentation for all of you, I realized that many changes have happened in the world of the MOOCs and the platforms in the last years, and even Coursera, now it's on the stock market. We say this like this, I think. And so many things have changed, but whatever, it's still a super, super powerful platform. I think it's the powerful one right now, and still offering MOOCs, free ones. And I think I hope it will keep on like this for many, many years. Also, Coursera has content related with history and archaeology, which for us was super important, because we are a niche. African archaeology is a niche in a niche in a niche. So there was already public that was interested in archaeology. And when we presented the idea, they were interested. They thought it was interesting. They have a huge, super important course on Egyptology in Spanish, that it's like thousands of participants. It's really, really big. It became one of the biggest courses they have. And so they are interested in these subjects. The Autonomous of Barcelona was already a partner, so it was a natural collaboration. They have a platform that is UAB Coursera, and so we just joined them, presenting our course there. And for today, we have 700 students, which is just mind-blowing for us. I confess that if 5 months after we had 200 students, I would be so happy. So I'm really, really astonished with the numbers, to be honest. And regarding the project, so I think this is interesting for us to discuss this among us, that we are among people that work in the digital and new ways of communicate, and how the processes of archaeology. And so I'm going to bring you in a journey with me from the beginning until today, and how everything started. So the idea came between myself and Eduardo Mondlane from the German Archaeological Institute. We had this dream many years ago to create something around Africa archaeology, a course that, again, was accessible, as much accessible as possible. Back then, it was super complicated. But then we find some partners and we create a consortium. This was in December 2016. We went to Portugal and we signed like an agreement between the German Archaeological Institute, the University of Neuchâtel with Matthew Honegger, myself, Jonathan Hans from the Louisville University, and Nuno Bicho from the Algarve University. All of them institutions with well-known experience in Africa. And the process started. So the first thing we did was in Cologne, to meet provides specialists in developing and research, to have a brainstorming workshop with them. And so to really realize, because we didn't know much about online learning, to be honest, we were just starting. And so we wanted to understand what aspects should we focus. So the content, the public, how do you choose that? How you do that? How could we really create content that would be useful? Because archaeology is a practical science. So how can we online give this to our public? A bit of that connection with the field. We always had this idea, and that was one of the big discussions inside the consortium, was how can we give a course on archaeology if we don't have field work? And so what we create is an introduction, a basis that the student can have that knowledge and afterward apply in the field, or combine, like blended studies, let's say. And I will give you an example of that. So the first thing was that, what we want, how can we do it, and whatever. And we established the first draft of the MOOC, and we have a first presentation in September to the Friends of the DAE. It was the first funding we got. And now I'm going to show you our first idea of the structure. Now I smile when I see it. We want everything, you know. We had 9 modules, all areas of Africa, the introduction, the archaeological methodology. And then after that part, we divided in different regions: the Maghreb, West Africa, Central Africa, Northwest Africa, East Africa, Southern Africa, and then project management and heritage. We wanted to do everything. And obviously, as you all know, this was impossible, but it's nice to have it. And also we start thinking about possible collaboration, possible colleagues. You know, it was like brainstorming of things and ideas and creation. But obviously, this was not possible. But we still have this dream of one day have modules for each area, or create short modules for each region. So we didn't give up on this, but we became much more realistic. In 2018, we went to Aswan, to the Trans-Area Network Africa. That is a project, a network, really a network that the DAE has, that connects all the colleagues working in African projects in the continent. And we spoke with our colleagues, we presented the project, and we start engaging and start creating that network of collaborators and co-creating with all together to really build our book. So we presented and we did the first recordings. We also went to Safa and we started presenting. We had a poster in 2016 in Safa, and then we went to Toronto. Matthew Onegar did the presentation there. So starting to try to connect with colleagues that would be interested to join us. We published our first paper in the TANA bulletin in the DAE, and we launched a landing page and social media so people could start engaging, giving us their email address so we could send information and all of that. Slowly, we started that. In September, we organized a session at the European Association of Archaeology in ways of communicating archaeology. And I will put these sessions because it's important for an output that came from all of this. In November, we went to Neuchâtel and we participated in the DARIA Digital Humanities meeting. That was super interesting. And I don't know if anyone of you is in this network, but I think it's super interesting and strong in Europe. So we went and we presented the project. We learned from other projects. It was very interesting for us. And in 2019, we had really the big moment of the MOOC, because we came again together in Faro. And we sit down and we decided with colleagues from ICArEHB, from Mondlane University, from the DAE, from the Autonomous University, really the structure, the final structure. We realized after dreaming of that big project that we had to start with the basics. We had to start with the network that we already had and really push it forward to do something. Because we always felt like, oh, but maybe it's not enough, maybe it's not good enough. You know how these things feel, but we needed to start it and to do something and create something. And then from there, we can always improve. So that was our goal. We reduce the number of modules, you will see afterwards, much more realistic, much more doable. And we started. We did some recordings already in Faro. And it was a really, really week of work, super interesting time of work in Faro. In June, same year, we took advantage and we started filming in Mozambique, the Chagalan case study, pottery analysis. We had this team from Germany, a Momento TV, and they did these movies. And this was, I forgot to say before, this was one of the ways we find to connect that more practical part of archaeology, introduce that in our book, because we cannot bring people to the field, but somehow we did it. So we, with this team of filmmakers, we create some videos, not all, but some, especially for the case studies, that people can really connect with the environment, see practicalities of the field work, and so that gives us a little bit of that feeling and more that connection and hands on the field, no? Then in August, we came to Bonn and we did some editing. In September, we went to Namibia and we did many videos on African archaeology, rock art methodology. We did some amazing, my favorite of all, I think inside the book, maybe I shouldn't say this, but it really is. It's super inspiring, the DaoREHB rock art, the DaoREHB rock art and the DaoREHB guides, mountain guides. In heritage management by local communities. It's absolutely outstanding. So we did also that. We went back to Cologne and we keep on recording with Tillman about rock art and in the DaoREHB. We edited movies. We launched our blog, and we had a meeting in Berlin where we presented these here results. We were super happy, super positive that the MOOC would be ready soon. And then 2020 came. So we got approval from Coursera that they would accept our course. Everything was super, we are super happy. But then COVID came, and so we couldn't. So the idea was to go to Barcelona, to the UAB, work with them. They have a studio there where they produce their MOOCs. And so the idea was during 2019, we did the case studies and all of that. And in the beginning of 2020, we'd go to Barcelona and record the last videos that I will explain to you, the kind of videos we were preparing. But then COVID came and we couldn't go there. We had another session in the AEA, sensitizing and engaging the public, the role of online learning in archaeology and heritage education. From that session, the previous one in New Ways of Communicating, this one, in 2022, Springer invited us to publish this book that we are creating now, New Ways of Communicating. So everything is a bit connected. That's why I was keep on putting these sessions in the EAA, because they were really important for us, not only to learn with our colleagues, to bring awareness to this necessity that we have to communicate better in archaeology, but also it was a way of bringing forward our course and the network. But during 21 and 22, things got more calmed down. So at the end, we had the possibility of traveling to Barcelona in 2022. And during 21, I keep on compiling the information. So what we did, as I said before, we had those beautiful videos on in the lab, in the field, and then we collect with our colleagues PowerPoints and the texts from the classes, and then we went to the studio and we recorded them there. And finally, in 2023, we finalized the work behind the videos. So the bibliographies, questionnaires, the student resources, the documentation, all the things. The core center to technical and quality revision, they gave us the approval, and we launched in May 2023. The course itself, what do we have inside? So you remember that first, that first big, huge idea, dream, whatever you want to call it. It's still there, some part of it, but we decided to create an introduction to archaeology and heritage of Africa. So we have one module dedicated to that. We have the intro to the MOOC, intro to general archaeology, specific introduction to African archaeology and physical settings, because as we know, archaeology and context, geographical context, environmental context are so close that we decided to have obviously lessons regarding that. Then a second module that is the strongest one, let's say the biggest one in methodology, with introduction to methods, fieldwork, lab work, human remains, rock art. Then a third module focused on heritage management, introduction to heritage, conservation, preservation, education, the role of heritage, local development, a little bit who is who, and community a case study. In fact, we have two case studies, one in community heritage management in Namibia and one in Mauritania also. And finally, the case studies, where the student somehow go through the course, and then he has the application of all the knowledge that he has collected through the course. We have Mozambique, Namibia, West Africa, and the Sahara. So as I said before, we have two kinds of videos. One recorded on site by the professional filmmakers. They are super beautiful and interesting. I think they engage well with the students. And also you have this, you have this, and then you have the more normal videos that are those ones that were recorded in UAB. As you can see, I'm the one there. It was not supposed to be like that. I was supposed to divide it with Décio Mundiaga from Mozambique, but due to COVID, it was not really clear yet, and he couldn't get the visa to come to Barcelona to record. It was very sad, but I went there. And so in 3 days, I recorded 20 videos. And you will ask, how did you do that? Well, because they have this software, and I think this might be interesting for some of you that are in the digital world, that is called Polymedia. And so it's a software that works basically, you do the presentation like if you were doing a class. You cannot repeat, not cut, and no, you have to do it all in one. Bit stressful at the beginning, but the good thing is, because of the collaboration and the good coordination we have with our teachers, they would send me, as you see here, Introduction to Archaeological Methods, not only the PDFs, but also the text. And in front of me, I would have a big screen, and I was just reading the text that was sent to me. So I was really just representing the teacher. I'm the voice of each teacher that offers the class. So that makes it easier. And the conditions in the studio are great. So I would just do that. I was reading, giving a little bit, and I was the one controlling the PDF. So it was like I was giving a class, and that was made it much easier, in fact, and faster. So we did it all in 3 days. So inside, in the introduction, we have some videos that were recording in Egypt, others in Mauritania. We do intro to archaeology, to African archaeology. Then the methods, we have fieldwork, and here you can see that we have different kinds of videos already, but I think it's interesting for the students, so it changed and it not get as boring, because you have different things happening. Suddenly you have a presentation in the field, others you have a more usual normal movie in the video with the PDF. The methods with many aspects. So we had physical anthropology, fluid and seismical morphology. Well, the one before was already. So in the method we had field work, we have lab work, we have then archaeometry, rock art, fluid and seismic micromorphology, bone tools, archaeogenetics, archaeology, African pottery. Oh, I have Frederica just twice because she's very good, so it's not a problem. It's also from Cologne. So, and rock art, specifically with Tillman explaining the rock art in Namibia, and Goodman Guasira from Namibia University, specifically in the methodology and field work. In the heritage management, again, we have those videos regarding Namibia, also regarding Mauritania, and the presentation of Tana in the DAI, the ICArEHB projects in Africa, and finally the case studies. So inside the MOOC, you have all these different components that coming together give you this this vision of the new technologies that we are applying, what is happening in Africa, and some case studies that you can appreciate. And obviously, inside each lesson, you have PDFs, you have other resources that the teachers gave us, and so links to other information, bibliography. So as you know, you can just do this like introduction and you go through the MOOC, although you have a quiz every week, or you can go deeper if you are already an archaeologist, you are an expert, you are in the area. But that was our idea. Regarding the platform, so this is the course, but we create the platform, and we did this so we could manage and have integrated the different resources we have. So we have the course, we also have a podcast, we also have a blog, and so we wanted to have it all connected in one place. From here, the student can go to the course, can listen to the podcast, can just go through the blog. In our podcast, we did one season with the teachers of the MOOC. We interviewed Joanna, João Cascalheira, Décio Muyanga, Alexa Horn, Tilman Lessenherz, and Jörg Lindstadter. And it's like an introduction to the MOOC, but I'm the host and I interview and I did all the technicalities. It was a bit challenge, I have to say, but I think it's not, well, you cannot compare with a professional podcaster, but I think it's also very real. And I tried always, that was my idea, more than to listen to all the project details and whatever. I tried to bring the person. Why are these persons archaeologists? Why are they working in African archaeology? In a way to connect with the public more personally. I hope you go and you enjoy the interviews. We create a YouTube channel because, as you know, YouTube is a searcher. So if anyone looks for Africa or whatever, maybe we came out and no, we can connect with people through YouTube also. We have our blog and our newsletter. Whenever anything happens, we try to communicate with our students. We have an Instagram and Facebook account also. And now, I still have 10 minutes, I want to bring you forward the outcomes. Okay, we create this platform, we have the MOOC. What is happening since we launched the MOOC in May? So the first thing that I want to share with you, and I said this before, but the numbers for me are really impressive because we are a niche of a niche. And it's true, the colleagues from DiKopA, Coursera, they were super surprised. I think they thought we would have 50 or 60 students or something like that. So they are super happy with the number of people that enrolled already and the variety I put here so you could see. We have especially from Europe, North America, also from Asia that I find super interesting. Africa has grown in the last couple of months, I have noticed. The age group, so between 25 and 35, we have the majority, but between 18 and 24, we have a good group of people. And I think that is very reassuring. So young people are interested in our subjects. And so I think that is very good. We have the majority of women, what is also very interesting for me. Then I bring these two stories that they are super beautiful. For now, we just have good things. We had some, I don't know, for instance, someone that says, oh, I'm missing this PDF or these kind of things. But in general, we have this kind of, how do we say it, experience, no? Someone that let us saying, every time I look at the knowledge I have gained during this course, I will forever be grateful to you all for it. Thanks so much for all you have done. And the second one I bring to you is I want to express my gratitude to you for offering this course. I'm a lifelong learner, what we said, not always it's just a young archaeologist. And I've always had an interest in archaeology since my first years in college. I did well in the course at college and as well on Coursera. Later in my educational career, I began to focus on geology or science. Currently, I'm studying biblical archaeology online. This course has helped me to better understand the current science within the field and how it is applied to our everyday lives. It is one of the most thorough courses I've ever taken, and I want to thank you for providing so much valuable information on this platform. I really appreciate all the hard work that you and your team put into creating this course. I have to say, the first time I read this, I start crying because I was so emotional. And sometimes people don't realize, no, when you spend some time just writing something, and it has a huge impact. I'm going to send, this was a couple of weeks ago that I saw it in this email that I want to send to the teachers. I will include this because that's why we did it. No, we came together, we had all these things in the middle, and finally we have students that are super happy, and I think that's super important. And also, during these 5 months, we also have our first collaboration with the MOA, the Museum of West African Art in Nigeria. So the MOA is one of the partners of the education project that the German Archaeological Institute is developing in Nigeria, okay? And it's an institution that is working in different areas, but one of them is the excavation of Benin City and the study of the moats, the ancient structures around the city. And they have created a course that is called Unearth. I will be back to that. Unearth, Discovering Archaeology Together. It's volunteering, so it's free, and they open a call. This is the second edition they have. They had 20 applications. They have chosen 12 students or 13 students, and basically, last year they had classes, and then they go to the fields with the team of MOA, and they do archaeology. That's it. They do this course in archaeology. At the end, they have to present a project related, because they come from universities, museums, institutions around Nigeria. They come all together to Benin City. But this year, it's different. So they have incorporated our MOOC. So what they will have is, for the first 4 weeks, they will have the MOOC as the base for the knowledge, for them to prepare themselves, the students and the group of students, and then they will go all. So now they are in Nigeria doing the study, going through the MOOC, and then they will all come together to Benin City, and they have 3 weeks of field work. After that, they will have to go back to their institutions and present the project or build a project around what they have learned, with heritage engagement, with the communities, whatever. Each one of them will have their own objectives, of course. So what we did, let me go back. So what happens? Inside Coursera, we have the original version in May with the students, and now we have this little private session for the Museum of West African Art. And so inside of there, I am one of the mentors of this new version of Unearth, of this project. And so myself and other colleagues from MOA, we are accompanying the students. We are here. If they have doubts, we give lessons online, so on live, like I'm doing with you now. I give some mentorship for the students. Other colleagues do the same. And so it's this kind of blended kind of course that I think it's perfect, because they have already all this space and they go to the field already with some knowledge. Some of them are archaeologists. Maybe they have learned something new, and they can also use the case studies to build up on their own case studies in the future. And some conclusions. So it was a long and not always easy process, as you can imagine. The pandemic was really a big wall for us, not only in terms of time, it took much longer than we would expected, but also motivation. This kind of stops and go and back and forward and all of that, I suppose for all of us, personally and professionally, it was really a moment that we all lost a bit of motivation in whatever realm we are working. And so engage again the teachers, please send me the PDF, please send me this. Find time to go to Barcelona and record all that, all of us. It was really hard time. Also, like in everything in life, you must be prepared. Some partners and teachers will quit. Others will join during the process and enrich the process. And maybe some of the teachers or institutions that have left, maybe they will come back again. Who knows? But we have to be prepared for this. We also believe that we chose the right platform. Coursera, UAB Coursera has been amazing, not only in terms of public, you see the numbers, and it's not because we do much, that's something that we really have to work better in our social media and all those things, because that's something that we really have to. But on the other side, we have already 700 students, so we are not doing so bad. And I do believe in part it's because we already had the public inside, the interested public inside. We are very happy with the numbers and engagement also. And the collaboration with MOA was really something that it's exactly the kind of model we believe we can make a difference. We can bring all that knowledge of teachers and researchers from around the world, from Africa and other parts of the world, to give the students that push and that knowledge, that basic knowledge, or not basic in the sense of basic, but the basis. And then they can go to field work with another knowledge, with another conviction, with more. And so I believe this is a good model. Not only the online, but obviously, because it's archaeology, you do have to have field work. So it's a good model to work with. Our next steps. So basically keep on improving. We want to integrate more content, new classes, modules, or even create short modules by region. As you saw at the beginning, what that idea we had, we didn't forget about it. And so we are really, really open to new collaborations. We would like to create scholarships for students that really need that certification that could really make a difference for them. In Europe, or at least in the Autonomous University, it gives credits, so it's possible to use them in our degree. Also, something that we noticed, they improve the transcripts. They are automatic. We can't do nothing about it, but then we have to work with the team in Coursera to change some things that sometimes a student sees, or I myself have saw some things, or a teacher tells you, hey, this transcript, there's some errors. So that's something that it's important to keep on improving. Also increase the resources inside the platform. I believe this is a never-ending process, but it's something that we have in mind to keep on bringing more resources into the platform. Explore new collaborations, especially with colleagues in Africa, universities, institutions in Africa. It's still very imbalanced. We have much more partners outside Africa than in Africa, and we really want to change that in the future, or at least make it more balanced. And we are now creating a new podcast series dedicated to Nigeria, because we were there in September in a seminar on Nigerian archaeology. And so I did a couple of interviews, and now I'm connecting with some of the participants to create a series dedicated to Nigerian archaeology. And I believe that was it that I wanted to share with all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sophia. That was wonderful. That was very, very interesting. I think we can all clap our digital hands for you. That was great. And you were perfect on time. It was exactly 45 minutes.
I had a friend here.
Oh, yeah. You managed perfectly.
So I was looking.
No, great. So I would now open up the stage for questions. I have written down a lot, and I will start, and maybe others can join in. And the first thing is a very general question, but it is something that I was thinking about the whole time you were speaking. If you would do this MOOC again, what would you do differently?
Oh, I would keep the pandemic for in the middle.
Okay. That's an external factor.
So I believe if I add the knowledge I have now, I have to start a new MOOC. Let's start a new MOOC. I will be more realistic since the beginning. I think we lost a bit of energy thinking that we have to do it perfect. Mm-hmm. Oh, if we don't include that area of Africa, it's not complete. Oh, if we don't include that methodology, it will not be complete. Oh, if and at the end, you spend so much time thinking on what you don't have instead of start working immediately with what you have. And I'm very happy that we had that workshop in Faro. Mm-hmm. And we decided, no, let's focus, let's do this, and let's move forward. And I'm super happy with that. So I would be more realistic. Mm-hmm.
All right.
I think that's what I would do.
You would also suggest that if you want to create a MOOC, to just start out with kind of a core MOOC and invest time and effort later to enhance it, right?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
That's what we want to do. So we want to create more case studies. We want to bring more teachers and researchers in other areas, subject, regions, definitely. What we are not sure yet is, will we keep this exactly like this, or so just keep on adding things to the modules, and maybe one day the methodology model will not be able to be in 1 week, we'll have to divide in 2, or will we create specific modules for specific subjects? We will see, but definitely that's our mindset. We have this, now we will improve it and create more things, and yeah.
Yeah, well, I think this is a very good approach, especially for people who never did a MOOC, right? Instead of thinking of all the things they want to do, as you did in the beginning, one could maybe focus on the core of the course and then add to it later. I think this is actually a good idea. I also have to admit, I'm not sure if you can see this actually in Coursera in the background, but I'm a student of your MOOC.
But no, unfortunately, I can't.
You can't see, okay. I am, but I did not finish yet the course, and I was wondering, can you tell us from these 700 plus students that you have, how many have finished the course?
We have around 80 that finish. We 80. Have so usually, if I'm not wrong, the global value of percentage of finishing is 5%, between 5 and 10%.
Okay.
And we are at the 8% right now. And they say it's very good.
Very good. Yes.
Our colleagues in Coursera. Obviously, it's only 5 months, so they say it's very early yet, but for now, it's a good starting point. So I'm very happy.
Well, I can also say I want to finish the course, but it takes time, right? When you're busy, you cannot do it. You cannot do it every week, right? Okay, Stefan, you have a question. Please jump in.
Yeah, it's a question and a remark on this finishing of MOOCs. We always think that finishing is the most important goal, but there's research on MOOCs and that states that even if people don't finish it, they have like a learning success in the end. And so we should not be too strict to say the person has to finish the MOOC for success. So this is, I think, much broader and much more open. But if you have already like 80 people finishing it, well, that's great, a good success, yes, of course. I have a question regarding the question of licenses. So you are now on Coursera. Is it possible to put like the videos and the material you produced afterwards online so that people can use it outside of Coursera platform, or are you restricted by using Coursera there?
We do have some in the DAI, in the YouTube channel, the ones that we produced it ourselves with the filmmakers. We have some of them. What we don't do it like put out, because again, our idea is to have it organized in a way that people go through them. But we can use them, I don't know, in a presentation or in a whatever, it's possible to use. The other ones, if I have to be honest, I'm not sure, because they were produced by Coursera itself, you know, the ones that I went to recording. So I'm not sure if that we can just, oh, let me put down in my YouTube and we have all the videos here, that I'm not so sure. The others that are produced by the DAI, yes, we have some of them. But what they asked us in Coursera was not to put everything out, because then you will lose engagement and interest if you have everything outside, and especially not to do it before the launch. We had in the introduction, yes, so we could, you know, we had like a little tiny video to call attention and whatever, but they ask us that. But for instance, we have a video from ICArEHB, they use it on their website, you know, these particular things that we did it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting as well. I was also wondering, you were talking about the cooperation with African scholars, but also students. I'm not so familiar with how Africa is with English language, but is this a barrier for some of the students that you put out everything in English?
Yeah, it depends of the region. For instance, with our colleagues in Nigeria, no problem at all, in Egypt, in other regions, but we really have to integrate the French and the Arabic.
Mhm.
That's super important. And that's why the transcript, it's a bit of a challenge because we have to have that in French and translating French and in Arabic. And that's also something that I should have put in the next steps. Even in Portuguese, because also, although it's important because there are different languages. And of course, we would love to have other African languages, but that is super challenging.
Mm.
So the English is the, as you know, it's the entrance language, the most easier one, but definitely the French, the Arabic, and the Portuguese would be wonderful in the future. That was also something that we discussed a lot, and then we decided let's go with the English for now.
Good. So, are there more questions? Yes, Marion, please.
Yes, thank you, Sophia, for this wonderful, wonderful talk. I learned a lot.
Thank you,
I have I have no knowledge of MOOCs whatsoever, so I'm a complete outsider here. It's something I need to work on. So my rather simple question is regarding the videos you recorded. How did you decide what videos to make? Like, are they based on courses you have given at university, or did you create something completely new? How did that go?
You mean the general structure of the MOOC or the courses, the classes inside the MOOC?
Yeah, the classes inside the MOOC.
So we basically contact our colleagues in different areas that we felt that were fundamental to have in a basic archaeology, introduction to archaeology. And so we have colleagues from different institutions, different universities, and we ask them, they are experts on that in that subject, obviously. And so we ask them to prepare a class. And that was completely their responsibility. And so each teacher create his own class. And so they create the PDF. For instance, I asked, we need something on the geography of Africa, or the climate evolution, or the environmental implication in Africa. And so the teacher prepared the PDF and the text that goes together. So I just had to read that, because then I know I'm saying the right thing and not, although my English is not perfect, and some names and things I'm sure. But again, we are not here looking for perfection. We are looking for give the students as much information we can. We have the text and the PDF, so they can also consult on that information. But it's the responsibility of the researcher or the teacher that gives, and they are he or her are the experts on the subject, and that's what we did.
All right, thank you.
I also have two more questions. They are kind of intertwined. The first question is, I'm not sure if you mentioned that, but I would be interested in how this all is financed and for how long. And the other question that is connected to that is, so at the moment, our project is also trying to build up an online platform similar to yours, with links and videos and everything like that. How do you take care of the longevity of that platform even after the project is done? Do you have any things in place that will take care of that?
So the MOOC, in theory, in Coursera, it's safe, we hope. So that was one of the reasons why we did it with a platform strong and viable, and hopefully for many years to come. So that part, they take care for us, the technology and all that people, the links are working and all those things. That's one thing. Regarding ONLA and the platform itself, all the funding was from the DAI. So it's a project very connected with the DAE. Again, there is a huge presence and historically and now in Africa. So I do believe it's a theme, and it's something that it's of the interest of the German Archaeological Institute since many years. We thought of integrating it with IDAE, but there were some things that were not very easy to do. So we create a platform outside. What I do believe is that if in any moment we have to import that, take at least part of it or whatever, we will have to do it, to integrate it in the DAE webpage, let's say, or the DAE atmosphere, I don't know what to call it. No? For now, we had the funding, we have the funding, and that's our idea for the next years. I think there's not a problem with that. I'm not sure if my answer is very sustainable.
No, it is, sure.
But yeah, that's how we are envisions it. Yeah.
That's good if you have the DAE as the host of the data, let's say, and of course Coursera, who can take care of the courses. And if you do not take care of the courses yourself anymore, Coursera will keep on checking all the links and everything that is working, right?
No. So I mean the links, I mean the videos, the links and all of that, that's our work.
Okay.
For instance, there was one link that it was not working 3 days ago. A student told me, this is not working. And it's because the DAE changed all the web page.
Oh yeah, they did. I saw that.
and so I have to go back to all the links from the DAE because some are not working. It was a publication, and I can't find it now. I wrote to the DAE asking, hey, what's the... So these kind of things will happen. And that's one of the main challenges I think we have in the digital world, how to keep, what is the format, no? Yeah, that's a big challenge we'll have in the next years, especially because the formats change. Who remembers CDs anymore, you know? And the archives, how many archives are in CDs, and now what will happen, and on databases that are not more available and things like that. So yeah, it's complicated. But yeah, so the links inside and the content, and if a teacher has a new paper that he wants to upload, then he will send to me and I can do that. I can send to my colleagues. But I meant the structure and the videos and all that. That will be there, and they are. It's an open course. Another thing that I can say, because some MOOCs open once per year and they finish after. We decided to keep it all the time open. So if anyone find us, someone find us, they can start. And as Stefan was saying, maybe they don't finish, but maybe they do half of the methodology, or they really needed to know something about one specific aspect, and they have the information there. So yeah.
I think that's a good idea. All right, do we have more questions? I've crossed out all my questions. Stefan.
Yeah, just a quick question about engagement between the teachers and the learners. Are there possibilities in your MOOC on Coursera, like a forum or beyond emails? So some kind of formal way how you can interact with students and then learners in the end.
Yeah, there are different ways. One is with, how do you call it? Oh, now the word escaped me. Announcements. That's the word. You can do announcements. For instance, every week they have a quiz and something or a discussion in the forum they can engage. And then I can do announcements. For instance, join us in this email for our newsletter. That I can do. But I don't have access to their private email. I don't have access to that. I have the statistics and all that, I suppose, for privacy questions. I do have in the private group, in private session with the MOA, the museum, there I have the emails and I can contact them directly, and it's an interconnection direct because I'm one of the mentors. I'm there for them all the process. Another way the students in the general course they leave message like the stories, or for instance, the other day I can find the PDF of this video, and then I wrote back to him. It's in the second part of the lesson because it was too big. We divided because if it's more than 7 minutes, no one watched the video. So we have some lessons that were big, we divided into videos, and the PDF is in the second. You know, these kind of things, we can interact. And I'm trying always to bring them to the newsletter, so we have the email. And then we have the authorization to contact them or just to transmit news or whatever.
Great. Are there any more questions for Sophia and her MOOC on online platform? No, I don't think so. Sophia, thank you very, very much for your time and your effort for this wonderful presentation. It was really, really good, and it was really interesting and enlightening. And I think we can take a lot of what you have said today with us. And we thank you for your time. And I also want to make aware that we have probably our next presentation somewhat during December, and Marion and I will send around an email for everyone interested to join the next presentation with more information. So thank you all for joining, for presenting, for discussing and asking questions and answering them. And we see you all next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.